Flames crackle below me, the city ablaze. Bombs cascade down, the unmitigated might of the coalition finally released. City districts, once so full of life, are engulfed in gunfire as ground troops clear their way to me. I stand alone, atop the parapet of the Capitol building, overlooking the carnage I helped create. This moment is hard fought. So many men died to bring about this day. My friends, my family, gone. All in the pursuit of a victory they will never see. It feels so hollow without them. I look at my hands, still covered in fresh blood. How many lives have these hands taken? How many more can they take? The body of the Emperor lies still next to me, his eyes glazed over, a rueful smile permanently etched on his face. Behind me, my remaining platoon toasts to victory. I do not join. How could I? The stain of today will be held by me as leader. My plan, my attack, my folly. To think that a decade of fighting would lead to this moment. Where do I go from here? I belong nowhere. My heart and soul have been taken by this war, my spirit forever tainted. Glasses clink, revelry is had. My eyes show the fire before me, entire city blocks reduced to rubble. These people had nothing to do with this, but in the eyes of the coalition, they are complicit. How are we better than they are? How am I better than the Emperor? With his dying breath, he taunted me. His words find their way into my head, worming deep inside, forever buried with the iniquity of today. I know this is the last day of my life. There is no path further. There is no tomorrow. The enemy learned that the hard way, as did I. My brain keeps replaying those words over and over and over and over and over and over, forever condemned to this fate, knowing that for all his faults, the Emperor was right. The ending is always the same, no matter the journey. All the ways we kill end in death. Welcome to the round table. Now, we are celebrating in a bit more of a unique way. Instead of doing a traditional book launch party, we've decided to gather up here in the mountains and enjoy friendship and company and be able to sit down like men and get drunk and talk about a book we like. So the way that this is going to roll is super simple. We've got some list of prompts on my end, but we're going to keep it very organic, keep the chemistry flowing. We've had a little bit of alcohol. At this point, we won't stop talking. So we'll go until either the stream's over or the cameras die or both. So if you have anything and you're watching live and you want to comment, we will see the comments on our end. If anybody besides my mom wants to get in on this, which she will comment. She's pretty good at that. But the rest of this will be available. I'm going to edit it down and then post it out again. The full will be available on my Patreon. Sub to my Patreon. I need money. But with that, we will get right into it. Does anybody have an immediate thought? You.
So I just want to say, in terms of like the book being published, I think I have known you since you've started the book, with like being deployed, working on it 24/7, and I just think it's a huge success. Not to fluff you up or anything, man.
I'm fluffed.
But I think publishing a book is one of the hardest things a human can do in terms of our first world Western society. But you did it, and so again, props to you, dude. I am looking forward to almost being done with it. So not in a bad way. But
Nice.
It's a good read, and your creativity always shines through.
I appreciate it.
It sounds like a wedding toast.
Of course. To the groom. Yeah, of course. But something to note, this took 3 years to finish. From when I started it back in 2023, I had the idea originally on a car ride, and at first it was very kind of spur of the moment. I was driving up to Atlanta, which is like one of the worst drives, and then the worst destinations too. But I remember looking off to the right, and this idea popped in my head. It was really, what if we take the average trope, right? The retired badass, the super killer, whatever, but every person he kills, he has to live their life. It was like a piece of empathy, and that single thread through line is what created the inspiration for the book, and it grew from there. The first couple chapters I wrote, I actually completely scrapped. None of it at all remained. It sucked so bad, and I hated all of it. And it wasn't until I started writing the chapters 24, 25, and 26, which we've got some people who finished it, some people who are still reading it, some people who haven't started it yet. So I won't go super spoilery. But that one was like the defining kill in the book, and it spurred the way to how everything else would be formatted and how I wanted to run. And it kind of grew from there.
I wanted to ask too. I know that I've read kind of just like outside of the book and outside of everything that you did some ghostwriting beforehand. You did some like editing over other soldiers that have written books. How did that kind of formulate Always Would Kill?
So one of my good buddies, he and I used to live together. He started writing at the same time that I did when we lived together. And his first book that he was trying when we were together, it ended up kind of not panning out. He didn't really enjoy it too much. But then he hooked onto this really good idea of this very fast-paced, like, mystery involving a guy who's accused of murdering the governor. And it's really intense. It's really great. It's crime-driven. I didn't even guess the ending. But, like, I started helping him out with editing it. So he was like, well, crap, now I feel bad. I'm going to help you out with editing. And so we started just going back and forth. I'd complete a chapter. He'd complete a chapter. And we just, went. And it was interesting because he and I are from the same profession, same background, but he comes from SoCal and I come from the Midwest. Okay. And you wouldn't think that that would be such like a major defining factor, but like the very small details, the minutia of the story evolved. And I could see him in the story. He could see me in my story. And so like having somebody so close to me working on the same kind of scope as I am, it opened up my world to how I was supposed to write and being able to see myself in my own work. So I've gotten the chance to help beta read and edit probably about half dozen to a dozen books now. Okay. And that every time I do, I either feel better about myself, feel worse about myself, or I take away something interesting and new, regardless of what the genre is.
That's a question I've been holding for like since I first met you, and it's been something that I've like wondered kind of as I've gone through the book, because I do feel like you can see so much of yourself through the book, just in kind of the way it's paced and how you write. So it's really interesting to kind of hear how that formulated towards the back end.
Okay, yeah. So it one thing I tell people is once you read this and finish it, and then read it again and finish it, and actually absorb the information, you will understand a lot more about me than I really intend to. Yeah. What do you got?
Unless you finished.
No. That was just about finished. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're totally okay.
Okay. So in terms of like your writing style, right? Did you take any inspiration from like the classics or anything else like for example like Dostoevsky or even like how like the ancients used to write and everything in terms of like just the fiction literature itself? Did you take any inspiration for that, or did you just kind of like go with your own style of writing?
So it started as kind of an amalgamation. So I've been writing or trying to write for about 10 years now before I even started the book. I wanted to be a script writer at first and try to direct movies. I had a lot of people who were directing short films. And then I realized I hated doing that. Writing only dialogue is super dumb. But I kind of took that element and then breadth of experience with D&D and both playing and writing for it. So like those were how I started, but I got really back into reading in 2021 when I was in Florida. I had a guy I met who recommended now my favorite book series, Red Rising. And that one was the first one that like the writing style stuck out to me because it is first person present. And I felt involved in the action and connected to the characters. So that's why I chose that. But some of like the big classics, Altered Carbon was really good. That one stuck out to me hardcore. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I read that one about halfway through editing my draft one. And I really, really liked the argument of like humanity and what's life and everything all about. Beyond that, I've probably read at least 50 to 60 books since I started writing. So probably little snippets and elements of each of them. Forrest Gump. I really love Forrest Gump. It cracked me up. But that and Harry Potter were the two biggest dialogue influences.
I was going to ask about Alter Carbon, but another aspect of that, it almost seemed like in some parts it was almost like Lovecraftian. in a way.
Yeah,
Did you take any inspiration from that?
Yep, The Man Outside of Time, I want to say. That's
Oh,
the
yeah,
story.
yeah.
I really like that one because I started reading a lot of his shorter stories and kind of mulling through them, but that one stood out hardcore. That and like Slaughterhouse-Five. So playing around with time travel in a way that isn't like, oh, I got to change the future, but about like the time itself and how we spend it.
Yeah, I almost got like Under the Pyramid with H.P. Lovecraft, and I could be like getting the name wrong on that, but like A Man Out of Time, Under the Pyramid is like the two that I really kind of pulled from. Again, I'm only halfway through it, but
yeah,
it seemed a lot like that.
I think I know the exact scenes you're talking about too. Yeah, there's a pretty good breadth of genre that I dip throughout, and that's kind of like the point, is him experiencing all of these different lives and living all of these different paths. And hey, could you silence your cell phone?
Hey, Brendan.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Who's the culprit here?
We all know it's the ginger.
It's oh my gosh. No. Sorry. I immediately like tick tick tick. You know. Yeah.
Why is that?
What? But no, I definitely. You will probably pick out more influences than I will, and I'll be like, oh crap. Like, I hope I didn't rip that directly from it, but.
I wanted to ask you, like back to a little bit, you said that like you like reading in 2021, kind of like the COVID pandemic play into that at all, or was it more so like just like happenstance that you went back into reading?
It was a bit of both. I had a lot of time during COVID, but I really didn't want to. Yeah, make sure you're.
Yeah, I got it. It's not even on.
No, probably not.
Brendan.
Wow, what a guy! No,
Oh,
it
after
should.
that-
There's enough gain. It should have picked up
Do you
the
want me to
audio
one
anyway.
more time or no?
No.
Okay.
You're good. So, COVID didn't make me read. COVID made me play a lot of frisbee and learn how to juggle.
No.
Yeah.
Or go outside.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I brought 5.
Nice.
Yeah, so I always keep them in the car. But no, it was. I had a lull between my selection and main schooling for UD school. It's about 4 months where I was just basically living on the beach, and I was like, well, it's either I drink on the beach or fall asleep, get
Crab
burned.
Island.
Yeah, exactly. Or I read, and so I had like a hammock spot. I read Red Rising all the way through. There's this really cool spot where the jets would like low fly over it and make me deaf. But like from there, I was like, crap, like I really forgot how much I enjoyed reading. And so like it just picked up from there. I started a Goodreads account, so I could tell you probably 150, 200 books since past 5 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's always kind of interesting to hear how that like period of time formatted things, and it just kind of really like built into so many people's character, and it's kind of cool to see how that might have shown through for the book a little bit too.
Yeah, definitely. The book is in essence like something I've always been writing unconsciously or subconsciously. So the main character is somebody that has been with me for like years and years and years and years. He took a lot of different forms, and I didn't really like how he was until I kind of gave him enough flaws to justify it. Right. He is a living, breathing amalgamation of myself, some of my closest friends and family, all the stories and experiences that I've heard. Like he is so many people. And definitely, I mean, COVID and the isolation and the time with yourself, like that probably bled through in a lot of the writing there. And I haven't consciously seen that. So that's a really good point.
100%. There's, I mean, like even like to that point too, talking to Brendan a couple days ago about how the main character's name is never brought up.
Yep.
It's just MC the whole time. And I think it's kind of cool to see how like you say, like it's a part of you, it's part of everyone who's been in your shoes and your experience, you know. It he's not his own character, it's kind of a shared experience almost.
Yeah, you're supposed to put yourself in his shoes, right? It's the courier in New Vegas.
Yeah,
like it's literally that. So he's supposed to you get his backstory, his background, how he interacts, and then you just kind of naturally start to put yourself into his shoes.
Mm-hmm. And you get to. Oh no, all good. I was just saying you get to put yourself in his shoes, and you kind of get to experience it with him, and I think that's what makes the book so special for me personally. Is like you get to almost at least on your first read. I'm sure coming back the second time you pick up all the small details, but on that first read, it's like you're there with them, and it's so entrancing, and you're so in it. It's like I'm not a big reader, but I find myself coming back to this book every second I can. So it's been a very enjoyable experience for sure.
Oh yeah.
First of all, I'm surprised you can read. But
Me too, man.
No, but you.
I made it.
Yeah, no, you took words out of my mouth. Dude. that was what I was gonna say.
Oh, that was all you were gonna say? Oh, nice. Even
no, like what he caveat, like putting yourself in the character's shoes and
Mhm.
whatnot. Because to be completely blunt, like when I first started reading it, I was like, okay, where is this gonna go?
Mhm.
All right, it's like I know you well enough where I'm like, okay, Keegan's gonna throw some wild stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I sat there, I was just like, okay, where's this gonna go? And once I got through the first chapter, I was like, okay, like I kind of start seeing it, and then each chapter kind of went along. I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Like that story sounds really familiar. And I was like, okay, but no, you do a really good job of that right there. And for anyone watching, you should buy the book immediately.
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
product placement everywhere.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what you got?
When it comes to
Yeah, before Ashley so rudely interrupted Esteban.
it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm
go
a
ahead, go ahead.
forgivable person. But when it comes to writing like a polyconscious character, how
Mhm.
did that make you look at your own consciousness and start to question something about yourself, if that ever happened?
Oh gosh, yeah, dude. Trust me,
That's a great question.
there would be times where I would have to stop and be like, oh shit, like writing him made me look at myself so much more and really outline my ideals, what I'm willing to do and die for. There are a couple very like incredibly personal experiences in here that I won't give you the example of what it is, but like those are you'll find them when you find them.
Humor me.
But each one of them, I was like, the more I wrote him, the more I realized that like my character isn't fully finished, and so I could live his life and kind of like find the conclusion to what I wanted, but also understand that like he and I don't agree on everything, and so he really became his own person and his own way of thinking. But now I use him almost as like a frame of mind. Each of the three main overarching characters, each one of them is certain aspects. They're very like the Tyler Durden situation, right? Where
Yeah.
they're that person, that amalgamation of consciousness. And so I look at myself, how I interact. I mean, the question in this, right, is who are we as people? That's one of the big ones, right? Because if somebody else can fully live your life and everybody thinks that's you, right? What makes you you? So I had a lot of identity crisis writing this. Had a lot of like, oh man, that's a can of worms, and how to really sit with it. I think that by the time you get to book 3 and you reach that conclusion of the first part of the story, you will get a better idea of like at least where my journey ended up and his.
What do you think was like the biggest like identity crisis? I know we've been kind of making jokes about this throughout the day, but this isn't a joke. Like, what would you think was the biggest identity crisis or like psychological like awakening for you during that like writing phase?
Okay.
He's all, I don't want to answer.
Hey, cut the film.
Cue card, please.
Unique subjects.
Yeah. No. Gosh, some of the big ones. My view on parenthood and on how our parents directly influence us and who we become and how we in turn influence them. Because I mean, it's not super heavy spoilers, but main character does not have a good relationship with his parents. Like there's a very good scene in there about his father, and that scene kind of grows to define him. And I really felt that parallel to my own, parents. And there are things that I so very appreciate about them and how they instilled that in me. But then I go, okay, well, if my parents lean that into me, where did this element of my personality come from? And I just went down this huge rabbit hole for probably a year of just like looking back and pinning out like, okay, this high school teacher gave me this lesson one time, and this actually profoundly impacted me. Or this one situation when I felt helpless directly impacted how I deal with things. So like I now am looking at my own life in a metatextual sense, as if I am a character because I've written such in-depth characters that have made me kind of mirror my own life. So that's what I hope everybody who reads it can take away, is starting to look at your own life, your own values, your own ideals, who you are, who you want to become, and like, who are you at its basis,
Are you?
I don't know, but I think that's one thing that like kind of did stick out in the book, and not to fluff you up, but at the same time, even from like a psychological perspective, like that feeling of helplessness that the character kind of feels throughout there, I think is one of the most impacting phase that any human can go through, because that will either make or break you in life. And I don't think a lot of people, especially in Western worlds, know what true helplessness actually is. And I think this does a good job of like kind of putting how you build that context up to what helplessness is, and how the character kind of struggles and kind of like builds that resiliency after that fact. So I thought you did a very good job with that. So I think that was like a major part of the book that kind of like stood out to me right there.
I appreciate it. I have a very rough collection of notes and outlines that is just, if anybody else tried to read it, you would not understand what's going on. It's very like, I'm like awake at 2 a.m. I'm like, oh, I gotta note this down. Yeah. And
he would call me at like 2 in the morning in UAE.
Yeah.
To tell me about it.
Yeah. I don't know how many times I would get like an idea in a car ride, be like, oh, like, oh crap. All right, now I need to call somebody and be like, am I like legit about this? Yeah, my goodness. But the big ticket arc items, like the top one was control. Right,
Yeah.
the feeling of control and true helplessness. So I'm glad that shined out really well.
Well, I think like that's like even classic like Skolanishkin, like his whole monologue on the Gulag Archipelago and Under the Night Stars, even too, like you feel his helplessness, and that's what resonates with that author, right? So I think any trope of realism, like in a fiction sense too, if you can express that helplessness and that sense of loss of control, and how we cope with dealing with that loss of control too, because we all experience, like everyone here at some point has felt like absolutely helpless, and we will feel that again at some point. Right? So I think that's a really good thing to implement in a book, and I don't think a lot of books do that nowadays, especially with like the new style of writing, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. One last piece for that, because I know you got a question coming up. The whole goal, right, is to take an action hero, somebody who has completed their arc, and his arc technically finishes at the very beginning of that intro, right? And take somebody who's now done with their story and go, what happens after? And there's a couple ones that like really come up. Who's finished the book of this bunch? Nobody?
I think we're still all working on it.
Yeah, we're all still working on it. Okay, I won't spoil too much, but in kill number 3, 4, and 7, there are 3 very glaring scenes that I wrote when I myself was in that kind of feeling of true helplessness. So like there are a lot of scenes I wrote where I was in that emotional state. You seen Eternal Sunshine Happiness, or of the Jim Carrey, right? Where it's like he was told to stay depressed to do it. It does help. Like there were many times where I had to kind of sit in that emotion and write it out, and that ended up helping me resolve that emotion.
I just have one more thing.
Okay,
right there. One thing, I mean, you've talked about this a lot, and not to give spoilers to the rest of the group or anything, but the action hero archetype, right? Or like even Jung talks about the hero archetype, the warrior archetype, and everything else. I think you do a really good job of like, we romanticize that idea of like, we all see the podcast, the stupid military Jocko and everything. I'm not like trying to like make a statement, but we see that in everyday life, and especially here in America. We do a really bad thing, aka like, oh, go to the Middle East and shoot someone in the face, etc. And you do a really good job breaking down the psychological aspect of that too, of like, hey, that does eat away at your soul a little bit. And not to stick on the control point right there, but the propaganda that comes out from all of this, not to go down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry, guys.
Can of worms.
Yeah, I'm trying to like frame it in my mind.
I get you.
Yeah, where it's like, it's not a good thing, right? It's corrosive, all right? It's acid to the soul, and that's not the type of person you want to be at the end of the day. And I think the character does a really good job of like, with that internal struggle, and where you write it from the perspective of, you just said like like you wrote it in a depressive state almost. I think that does sum up a lot of like even the GWAT guys who comes back, or like Global War on Terror for people who don't know what that is, who come back and they're like, oh, I was doing a good thing, but then you see like all the veteran suicide and everything else, and it's like, do you really want that? No, you don't want to be the action hero. Like the movies and everything else does a really good job of like, no, you want to be that.
Yeah.
Like from Lord of the, I won't even compare Lord of the Rings. It's great, but right. But anything like action hero related or anything else, it's like, oh, that's a good thing. But I think the loss of control, the frame of mind that you write it in is really good. Again, not to fluff you up, dude. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass.
Right now. My ego is through the roof.
Yeah, but I think you do a really good job of explaining that, and that goes to a lot of conversations we had. So it was great. Yeah.
And I kind of want to wrap around that like idea of control, like as it pertains to the book too. Like there's two parts that stick out to me a lot. So there's like the first kill when he like realizes what's going on after he's done with Frank, and he's in this body, and he kind of has like almost like a moment of like panic, like really surreal panic, where he's like, this is not my body. And he doesn't understand anything. And it kind of shows like bare bones who the MC is, right? And like kind of how his brain works. Like this whole time we've had him in his body, but now he's stripped of everything that's comfortable, and it's nothing but his consciousness, and that's it. And so I feel like for me personally, like when I read that on a plane, and that was like when I really kind of connected with the character. And I was like, okay, there's like the first, second, and third level that you're introduced to, and then there's all these other kind of parts of him that you get to figure out. And then there's another scene later too where they're in the elevator, and it is kind of marked by these moments of panic where he's stuck in an elevator, and the only thing that breaks it is the ding, right? Is ding, and then he kind of falls into this panic, ding, falls into this panic, ding, falls into this panic. Or what was it in the beginning too, when he is in the interview and the crowd starts speaking to him, right? And it's not what the crowd is really saying. There's all these moments where like just right off the bat where it's not like, I guess, explicitly implied that he has these, but you're living through it with him, and you're experiencing this loss of control, and it kind of puts you in this position where it's like, wow, you know what I mean? I think that's what I appreciate about it being in first person as opposed to third, right? Is you don't have the overcomplication of explanation. You're experiencing with the MC, right? And as you go through it, you can feel the panic, you can feel the tension. And I personally really struggled kind of just in books in general of like feeling tension. But in that elevator scene, I could not stop reading no matter what. The plane could have been crashing and I would have been listening, right? Like it's just such an intense moment where you're like, you as a person, you feel the loss of control and you're so tethered to it. It's like a car crash. You know what I mean? You don't want it. You don't want it to happen, but it's going to, and you have to get through it. You know, so it's one of those things where it's like this book is like, I get not to blow fluff, right? But like so engaging, so intriguing to me that like I have a hard time putting it down, which is, and in my personal opinion, high regards, because I have a hard time with that.
I appreciate it.
Question.
Yeah.
So main character clearly suffers from PTSD.
Yes.
Right. Clearly, the flashback scenes to the war, and then the complete opposite of that, like in the face, like this might be a spoiler, but the Rebecca scene, right, where he's like almost relieved in an odd way of like making it simpler, right? And like I want to ask, how much research into like mental health and PTSD and like looking into like symptoms of that and studying that did you do?
A lot. My favorite pastime is listening to very, very fucked up people tell me very fucked up stories. And I'm just like, I'm going to write that down. I know, but ultimately, I have been blessed in a weird way to be the one sober guy left at the bar. And it's all people who have been and seen just the most horrendous things possible. And one of the aspects I picked out and I used specifically for that scene was the moment shit hits the fan is the moment that person is truly alive and understands exactly what's going to happen and knows what they need to do and has all the training in the world to do it. Right. And when that moment ends is when things catch back up. And so like in that moment, he hits that immediate shock. Right. And so that triggers, yes, the one side of the mental health piece, right, where it could cause him to shut down. But that also is overcome by just decades of training and experience. It takes it and just goes, cool, it's simplified. I'm going to kill you now. And then as you finish that, you then get the rest of the time as he slowly starts to winnow his way back down and deal with the consequences of that very kinetic moment.
I think me and you actually had a lot of conversations on this right here.
Probably,
And I think you hit the PTSD thing on the head right there, where it's like you feel like a god in the moment, right? And you keep chasing that dragon. It's almost like a heroin addiction, right? And you trace it, you track the adrenaline, you like chase it, and you're like go go go, and then but eventually, no matter who you are, you're gonna have to accept the reality where it's like that's not always gonna be the case. And even from like a personal experience, right, that come down off of that is the worst feeling in the entire world. And you're just like, I am nothing, I am the worst person ever, and I don't know how to deal with this right here. So I think you really do like touch on that really well.
I appreciate it. If there's one thing that I am constantly surrounded by, it is incredibly depressed, PTSD-ridden men who are just going through and dealing with things.
Look.
You know? Yeah. What? Who?
Thanks.
Yeah, I know, right? But like, I myself struggle. You know, and I don't want this to be like John Wick. I don't want this to be a sexy action hero, you know? Like this guy isn't, you know, it's exactly what you're bringing up, right? This is the average action hero trope. But then you go, okay, he's a person. He's a human, right? Who is he as a person, and how does he deal with that identity crisis there?
I think one of your opening, I think it's actually chapter 1. He's like drunk on the roof.
Yeah.
I think that almost clarifies it exactly, that this isn't like a sexy John Wick. This is just some sad guy, you know.
My grandma put the book down. She went and finished chapter 1. She went, I hate this character. She put the book down. She goes, I don't want to read this book. And my mom had to tell her, be like, no, like he picks up. And she's like, I don't like him. And that's the point. Like that's what I was trying to get at, is you get this emotional peak with the intro, and then you get the harsh reality and the shell of a man who's left. And then chapter 2, you get the sympathy and the understanding of what he's going through. And then chapter 3 kicks off the arc.
You're actually kind of in line with this book called Odysseus and the Comeback. Right?
Okay.
It was written for Vietnam veterans back in 1980. I forget the author's name, but I recommend it to anyone who struggles with like PTSD and everything else. But it talks about like Odysseus's trials in the Odyssey, where he's coming back, and it's like where he's with Calypso, for example, where a lot of guys with PTSD like fall into like infidelity, everything else, because they're chasing that same high. And even like with alcoholism, etc. But you're almost kind of in line with the book too, and I'm reading it, I'm kind of like comparing notes on the two at the same time. I'm like, oh, interesting.
I mean, it goes to show that's a universal experience, right? We have all different stories, but we all have the same emotions and feelings behind it. Who we are separate from our experiences is something we have to grapple with and build. I know that obviously identity is the huge piece in here beyond control, but the identity piece is like, are we our actions, right? Is it a situation where the further down we go on a path, the harder it is to come out? Is that true? And that explores the dynamic, because he is an artist and he is a soldier. And so those are two opposite ends of the yin and yang dichotomy there. And so there is a conversation, anybody who gets to part 2, it's not super spoilery, but him and one of the other people in the story have a conversation about like, who are you feeding? It's the two wolves conversation, but it's done with a different metaphor, because I'm not ripping the same metaphor. And in fact, it's a stupid metaphor for a reason. But it shows like, we are our experiences, but we're also what we choose to do with those experiences. Like at some point, we have to understand that, yes, it's been done to us. Yes, it will impact us. But now, are we going to let that continue? Or are we going to get up, grow, and choose to be better or choose to be worse?
I think this like brings up a lot of the philosophy in the book too, right? Where it's like, are you building those neuro pathways in the brain, right, to form a nature for yourself where it's like you're not going to forget it, much like memory, right, where it's like almost muscle memory. Oh, I got to do this because of X.
Yeah.
All right. Like, oh, I feel stressed, so I'm gonna go cheat on my wife.
Yep.
Good.
Good.
I feel stressed. Let me go drink. You know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go drink, or I'm gonna go do drugs. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do X, Y, Z.
Yep.
Right. And I think you touch on a very philosophical and even almost neuroscience portion of the book where it's like you're your own person at the end of the day, even because if those neural pathways are even built, right, you can build an alternate pathway in it, and the synapses connect and everything else, and you're like, okay, I'm off that trail.
Yep.
Right. We're covering a new path right now. We're going to try to do that. And that's one reason why I recommend the book to a couple people in my life, at least, because I'm like, hey, like, if you don't want to take my advice, if you want a good story, like, read this. Like, hey. So I think the book dives into a lot of like philosophical aspects of like dealing with PTSD, right, and the mind itself, right? Because even if you're like not even a veteran or anything else, I think this applies to everyday life in general, where it's like you have the father who gets stressed, but the guy who works the 9 to 5, and he's like, man, that system is real hard.
Yeah. Or
right?
let me go to the bar.
Yeah, let's go to the bar. All right. So I think that does a really good job of touching on that. So
I mean, like, even to like point out like a specific point in the book, like the cornfield scene, the father.
Yep.
Like seeing the duality. That's the second kill, and like what he chooses to do as the second kill in duality with the like implement of that corn scene, right? Like you have this direct, like, yeah, this is, you're watching your father do this, right?
Yep.
And this is a part of you, and even in that scene, he has the duality of like between the farm and art, right? And then he comes forward, and he's neither of those things. He's a soldier at the moment. And so watching how he kind of deals with that and moves forward with it, and he still has these gracious parts of him that allow him to do what he does again as that body. And just the kind of the duality between the two scenes was something that stuck out, and kind of like what we were talking about, like just really stuck out to me for sure.
Not to monopolize the conversation.
I don't know, man. You're monopolizing.
Yeah, pretty heavy.
No. It's all good. If you got a point, speak it. I mean, we'll soon start just making sure Logan's included as well. Yeah. The guy who's never read the book. No, it's fine.
I think you brought up actually a really good point, right? When you were going through your studies with like PTSD and like the duality of man and everything else, like in any of your studies, did you ever come across people that were just like, yeah, it doesn't really affect me in a way where it's just like, I just miss it?
Sociopaths?
Okay. Well,
No. No, there's definitely so there's like 3 phases that I saw in a lot of what I was researching in, right? So your first phase is your romantic phase. So the people who are not quite into it or just getting into it, right? Your hoo-yah phase. And that's where, you're given, if you want to, just the soldier is the easiest one, right? Propaganda is obviously, right? It makes it look so sexy to be a soldier. For the most part, there's some commercials look bad, but like you get the people who are hooked and they're like, yes, and they're at the recruiter's office and they're getting ready to go and they're training all the time. They're wearing their shirts and have their little drawstring bags. It's awesome, right? And to them, there's nothing that could possibly go wrong, right? Then you get your second phase, which is you're in it, right? And these are kind of where you kind of go off on 2 branches. So the people who are in it actively and getting those experiences either choose to continue on and accept what they are doing, right? They justify what they're doing, or they just don't think about it. And those are the people that they're going to commit to life for that, right? To that reason, that is them now. They are that. And then there are the people who start to realize like, oh, like this is not always what I thought it would be. This is actually much worse. I can't justify these actions. I can't handle this. And if they manage to get out into phase 3, which is that full, like, that ain't me, before they're broken, they tend to recover really quickly, and they tend to be somebody who understands it but wasn't quite affected by it, and they're able to live their life however they want to live. It's the people who get to that point where they're almost to part 3, but they keep getting hit. They keep staying in part 2, whether by choice, excuse, or by circumstance, right? And that is where I saw the most fracture of people, is because they wanted to go. They knew what they were doing was bad, but they could not help the situation they were in, whether contractually or peer pressure or what have you. And those people I see tend to be the most broken. The people who choose that as their identity for their life, unless they reach a critical mass point that makes them either removed from that identity or fall away from it, they tend to stick pretty through it. No matter what happens to them, they justify it. I've known a lot of guys who have been like, yeah, I'm fucked up, but it's just part of the job. Or like, yeah, I'm fucked up, but it's good money. My family's secure, right? They justify that they are not doing good, but they have to continue to do it for whatever reason.
I want to touch on that too. Like, there's something that I like picked up on. Like, it's really subtle too, and it's kind of leading up to again that like cornfield moment. But like, subtly, he brings up burned coffee so much. How much coffee is burnt throughout that first chapter, right? Mm-hmm. Coffee is always burnt. It's either burnt a little bit, right? Burnt a little bit, and it's okay, or the coffee is too burnt for his liking. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was weird because it's like, there's just been through like certain texts I've read, like I like to pick out the things that come up a lot, because they're intentional, you know. And so as I kind of like picked up, okay, like there's the caffeine comes up a lot. This guy is caffeinated all the time, no matter what, right? And I think that's a general experience probably across the whole table. But there's always kind of this thought process of like, okay, the coffee is burnt. Like where is that? And then it kind of comes up to this really moment, and then the corn, you know, it happens, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So like subconsciously, like this thought of like, there's, I mean, and maybe I'm just reading too deep into it, but like there's always kind of this focus on like, okay, this is a little too burnt, or this is just burnt enough, or this isn't burnt. This coffee's fantastic, right? When he gets into the hotel with Rebecca, right? The coffee's fantastic, right? Just that kind of constant like focus on being burned, I thought was weird, and then it came to what it was, and I was like, okay, that makes so much more sense now, you know, and that kind of thought process connected. So that's again just like something that, like, going back to the book, made so much more sense to me once I got to it, you know.
There are a lot of subliminal messages.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and most not intentional. I found him in the first draft. I was like, damn, who wrote this? I'm like, oh, hey. And then I just make those pieces more pronounced because that's what draft 2 is all about. But yeah, I mean, I use a lot of heavy-handed symbolism, very the curtains is red kind of guy.
Yeah.
But then there's also other scenes where I'm like, nah, dude, the curtains are just red. Like, it's just a cool area, you know.
Yeah.
But I do it in such a way that I always try to keep people guessing.
100%. Yeah, yeah, and that bleeds through like the entirety of the book that I've read so far.
Hell yeah. No, you're not giving me the eyes.
No, I'm giving you the eye.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I actually have a point to go back to.
Yeah.
Kind of the cognitive dissonance of having the idea of, well, I'm not a bad person, and then trying to isolate the actions to the person you are. I've actually come across this a lot with a lot of my buddies who are moved on. They work for defense contractors, do all the fun stuff, but they get the experience of knowing, yeah, I made all the bombs, but I didn't drop them. But like the idea of making them is still like weighs on them, and you can kind of tell when you meet them and see, and they're like, oh yeah, I just go to the bar every day. I don't want to deal with it. Yep. And that's the response that comes with it. And I think it's a really interesting kind of situation where you start out with good intentions and you end up not through your own choice, really stuck at somewhere you hate and have to deal with it, and how you respond is cool.
I mean, the expression, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Yeah. You know, it's very true. And I try to note with each of the characters, even if they're not directly doing something, right? How they can still be actively affected. He gets to live other people's lives. And some people are in just the absolute worst possible position they could be in their life. And so they have a completely different style of PTSD, but it's the exact same emotions and feeling. And he's able to recognize that and realize, like, you know, you don't have to go to war to suddenly realize and weigh your own conscience. You don't have to kill somebody to regret something. Like that is a huge piece. I probably one of my favorite ones to write was Kill Number 3, because he's put into a very vulnerable position, a position where somebody is clear cut and dry pronounced as, you are evil, you are a bad person, right? And then living that life and seeing, not justifying the actions, but understanding where that road led to, and those desperate moments that changed and defined who that person was. And then the moment where he saw potential that then gets snuffed. You know, it's a tragedy is what that kill is. But it was a lot of fun to write in that like introspective way of being able to kind of weigh with, you know, you don't truly have to be a soldier to understand what it's like to have a bad life.
I have 2 questions, but they're the same question.
Okay, nice. Are they in 2 different languages?
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. First one, I want to know your inspiration for Frank. The second, I want to know your inspiration for Biggie.
Okay. Yeah. So Frank isn't too terribly much of a spoiler. So he is kind of the farmer archetype, right? Very Midwestern paternal. He doesn't have a direct one-to-one in terms of like this person directly does. There are actually 2 characters that are direct one-to-one. He is pretty much like the Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's very I use the kind of old style, you know, Midwestern gentleman who kind of knows his shit. I mean, now that I'm really thinking about it, yeah, like Star Wars definitely impacted that. As gay as that is to say, like you know, like he
That's
is the
not
wise
gay
old
at
member.
all.
It's Gandalf. Gandalf's another good one. I went and watched. Yeah, we went through and we did the marathon of the director's cuts, Lord of the Rings. I was like, damn, Gandalf's a cool guy. I like this guy.
I actually felt so. I don't know if you meant this, but
Okay.
I felt Dumbledore energy.
He
Like,
definitely.
I felt like
Yeah.
I know everything, but I'm not going to tell you. But I'm going to help guide you along the way.
Yep.
Like that's what I got from it.
That's the archetype that he was going for.
A couple of slips that he has, where he there's one part where he brings up weed,
Mhm.
and then MC is like, "What do you mean weed?" He's like, "Oh, well, that's for later."
Yeah, and that's the whole point. Is he actually, out of everybody I've talked to, he is like the person I hear most is as somebody's favorite character is Frank, and the scenes at the farm are by far the most liked scenes, which I get. Like they were really good and a lot of fun to write because they're a mirror to what's actively happening within each of the chapters. If you pick up on that or not, some of it's very heavy-handed. Like, yeah.
Because you'll have like the dramatic from like the chapters,
Mhm.
and then there's like the calm. That's right. So as a reader,
Yeah.
it's a nice breakdown.
It's a reprieve, you know?
Yeah.
I think my favorite scene in the entire book that I've read so far, I'm about 3/4.
Okay.
I'm on 650, I think, is the court scene. I think that's by far my favorite scene in the entire book. And then I think Frank's interaction in that scene, I don't know, I love it.
Hey, people mention that one as their favorite, you know, the little subtle nods, the little movements. Like that is you ever seen Next Generation Star Trek? Okay, very first episode, Star Trek Next Generation. That is like direct inspiration for that scene where it's just this rabble rousing court. But yeah, that everything is very allegorical in it, and it's not meant to be hoity-toity. It's just meant to give you a frame of mind difference. As for Biggie, he yeah, people love Biggie. He comes back. I'll tell you that. Like he is a character. I love Biggie. So I needed.
I just like how everything he says is in bold.
Yes,
It's always
you
just
know,
in bold.
you know exactly how big this guy is and how deep this guy's voice is.
How funny it is where it's like they compare the cash register to a toy. Like he's just so giant in this register that's like, you know,
He's got a tiny little sombrero and a little mustache,
But he makes good food.
but he makes really good food.
fantastic
Yeah.
videos.
I'm actually making a sticker right now of the burrito chart. Yeah. So, yes. But yeah, exactly. Can I get a gargantuan? Like, but no, I needed a spot of brevity. You know, you play Curse of Strahd. Like, you know, you need a little rose in the thorns to be able to get people to not have that heightened tension and to have that like relaxation moment of like, oh, okay, like I can chill out here for a little bit. And also, you know exactly the kind of restaurant you walk into with that description.
I was imagining like a cookout, but shadier.
Yep. A very
My
sticky
man.
cookout.
That's the funny thing too. Like everything that's in the scene with the that I've read so far, like seats are described as sticky, and you just have to find like the least sticky one. Like,
Yep.
oh, yeah, it's just I can see the whole restaurant, so no one's coming in, but the booth is sticky all the time, no matter what.
I kind of had a thought right here when we were talking about
Okay.
all of this right here.
I
Have
have
you
those sometimes.
Oh, I know. I as a ginger, I
Me
usually
never.
don't.
Oh wow.
But
Okay.
hey, but have you ever seen the movie The Thin Red Line?
I don't think I have.
So it's also a book. I bring up the movie first because that's usually the more popular. But it
Mhm.
talks about the beauty and chaos of war, right? And how it like mixes and flows, and how God almost in a way like uses it to show the realism of life right there,
Mhm.
right? And not trying to like harp on the PTSD
Sure.
topic too much, but in terms of your characters, right? Do you write for more of like the 2001 to 2021 style veteran, right? Like the GWAT guys, or do you write from like in a holistic aspect
Bless you.
of war? And that will lead to like, depending on how your answer is, that will lead to a different question.
Mhm.
Before you answer that, can you describe what the difference between that is?
Yeah. So for those who aren't super familiar, right? Your GWAT, your Global War on Terror veteran, right? But oh yeah, they are defined by
Yes, that is
yes, they are. Okay, you seen any Vietnam War movie?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how very clearly like that's a Vietnam soldier story, right? You can kind of do that for like Desert Storm. Jarhead's kind of like the most obvious example, right? But there's not really a definitive one, right? You got Band of Brothers, you got Apocalypse Now, Jarhead.
Mhm.
GWAT is very guerrilla warfare, asymmetric. Like it's small teams who are fighting somebody that you don't know is the actual enemy. So you have the heavier weight on it. You've got an uncertainty in leadership and on what you're doing. And you have a lot of like very clear depraved things that happened during that time that impacts those people who are there, right? You start with your Pearl Harbor situation, your 9/11, right? And so you have the first couple of years of like, yes, we're doing the thing, like we are justified. And then it just straight down until we pulled out of Afghanistan. And so that defines GWAT veterans. I intentionally made GWAT not exist in this world because I did not like the archetype as a storytelling device because I thought the archetype was too overplayed, over talked about, and didn't give a justification because you needed somebody who had a world war. You needed a World War II situation where you are inspired by and trust the government, right? And go, well, we're the victims. We need to fight back. That I needed that motivation. So that's why World War III is like that's the intro is the end of World War III. So you have a couple years after the war is over. So you have your World War II style celebrations and joy and everything. Still a little bit of that waning in the war, but you have it against our modern current idea, right? China, Russia, India, because I thought that'd be funny. Yeah, I threw India in there because I was like, man, I had an Indian friend, and I was like, man, dude, no, I'm kidding.
Gary.
Yep.
The part that I enjoy so much about this book is that it is so different, and that there are things about this book that just kind of set it apart from your normal book that you pick up kind of about the same topic. And I think having things basically having like an India setting at all adds so much to kind of the breadth of the book and kind of your ability to involve yourself in it because it's so not what you're used to. You know, we talked about like how overplayed the GWAT soldier is, right? How different it is to read India for a war. And I mean, even like going into China, like the virus and all that kind of stuff, like how different everything is, kind of sets this book apart for me personally, and makes it really easy to kind of like involve myself in. You know,
I think going back to your question off of his question, which was the difference between like GWAT, PTSD, and others. I think the easiest way to describe that is with conventional warfare. You see a guy wearing a uniform, you know he's good or bad, mostly, right? There's some ifs, ands, and buts in there, but mostly you know if he's good or bad. In modern warfare, not the Call of Duty game.
okay.
Huh?
In the war on terror, you don't know who wants you dead and who doesn't, and it causes like this identity crisis inside of you, and like almost like this, you don't know who to trust, and it's like PTSD can come in many different facets, and that one is kind of it's different. And we're kind of just now experiencing those like symptoms of that as a society.
Do you want to elaborate on that too? Kind of just before. So there's like this. There's this experience I had, right? Where and I hate to bring it up because it seems so corny, right? But there was a Call of Duty campaign I was playing. Right.
Yeah, of course.
You're in a Middle Eastern city, right? And you walk into a room, and there's this mom, and she has her baby crying in the corner.
Kill.
And yeah.
Oh,
She, I am. Yeah. So she kind of
User
walks
agreement.
away for a little bit to kind of like almost like tend to the baby, and then she comes around the corner with a gun, right? And it's this moment of like, okay, like I don't know, and I guess in a point and shoot game, right, first person shooter, you're shooting everyone, but you have this moment of like, okay, this is mom, her baby's right here, this is not like a problem, right?
Yeah,
this isn't a target, and then you have this moment of like shock where you're like, holy crap, she's coming around the corner now, she's a combatant, right? And I see a lot of that in the book where it's like a person who shouldn't be a problem is. And then when you have a kill and it flops, the person that is a problem like switches. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot in the second kill with God, how do you pronounce his name? Samir. Yeah. Seen a lot in Samir where you get to see from both sides. You know what I mean? So I guess kind of to piggyback off that, like it's cool to see both sides of the story, but also like it highlights how intense everything is. Like exactly what you said. Like you just don't know. You know what I mean? And depending on the side of the story you're on, that person is so differently seen. You know what I mean? And they're playing the story is so drastically different. Even if you can address Samir with your own conscious in it, right? Like it just is so intense, and it highlights how stressful all of it is. And I guess that makes a lot of sense now that you explained it that way.
I kind of disagree with your perspective on this, and I call it perspective because perspective is reality depending on the person.
Which
on
perspective?
His, and I'm gonna elaborate on.
Ginger.
Okay.
Dude, I'm losing the name.
Yeah.
Right now. Oh, I can't say ginger. I can't be racist my own kind.
I know.
But, no, Brandon, dude, I'm so sorry, man.
We all met each other like maybe 2 hours.
Yeah. But in terms of the GWAT veteran, right? I think where the PTSD comes from, it's not the intensity of the moment, it's the lack of intensity of the moment, right? Especially more towards like the 2012, 2018 era GWAT veteran, right? I would even say like even before then, unless you were like on the Omega teams, JSOC teams, the Hunter Killer teams, etc. Again, that's very redundant, but I'm building context. But I think where for the conventional guy, where the PTSD comes through, a lot of times is through the leadership of the things, where it's just like, okay, I have a clear fucking target and I'm going to shoot this motherfucker in the face. Like, awesome. Sounds great, right? Like, and what you kind of described a little before, it's like, I have this training, like, let's do it. And then command's like, RTB, return to base. And you're like, what? This guy's shooting at me right now. It's like, you want to go to jail? And you're like, no, not really. I don't want to go Leavenworth right here. And so like that builds up, and especially if you go through that every day almost for like a year, 9 months to a year, right? You come back and you like get into that society aspect of like the woman with a gun type of thing. It's like, yeah, I'm dropping that motherfucker. Like, I'm not gonna think twice a day about it. All right, it's like, cool, you're gonna kill me, and that's my perspective on that right there. And so that's why I say it's not a reality or even a logistical debate right there, because it depends on the person. On that, for me, I'm not gonna have any qualms on that. All right, I've done that and I'm fine with it. All right, I sleep soundly every night. But it's, I think for the average GWAT veteran, I do think it is a point where it's like you had the lack of intensity and the stupid fucking bullshit that came out from the everyday, from either first ID, 82nd, 173rd, that you just got, or even
Don't dox me.
We're doxing.
Moody. But the average like deployment cycle in this modern world, where you're just like, what the fuck am I doing here right now, where that propaganda does fade, and to kind of like ending that right there, to go back into what how you answered the question, where it's like you didn't write from a GWAT terms, but I think a lot of the GWAT guys do feel like that to a certain extent, and sure, like the aspect of PTSD is kind of similar through all of it. Like GWAT, Vietnam, Gulf War, like, where it's just like, shit, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Type of thing. I think it is a very crucial aspect in your book where you do make that like definitive point right there, where it's just like you look at it from and tying our like kind of conversation. I guess it was a conversation, but the point I was making, where it's like it's a perspective outlook.
Yeah.
All right, where it's an individualistic outlook versus like this is his reality. This is the main character's reality right there. So I think you did again. Not. I feel like I'm just fluffing you up at every point, but I think that was a very good perspective.
I mean,
I think this guy loves you.
Dude,
I
I
do.
can tell.
well, it's like I get it. It's like each person's experience is so individually personal and intimate. You know what I mean? And there is so much like intertwined that it's like it would take generations to figure out, right? But and it's displayed in this book.
Millennia.
More. Yeah, exactly. Like it's so deeply personal and it's so intricate because it's personal to everyone. You know what I mean? And you see that in the experience of the MC. His experience is going to be different from yours, different from Brendan's, different from yours, right? It's going to be different across the whole table. But it's explored kind of through that central idea of like all of the root of it is the same. And then the things that make it special, like not special, I shouldn't say special because none of it's special, but
I think it is special.
special. Yeah.
I think it is
that a
actually
good word
special
for
in a way, like, and not in a romantic sense
Yes,
either,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it is
exactly.
special in the sense where it does impact your life in a way that nothing else will.
It's like a tailored suit. You know what I mean? It's so personal to you and it fits you so well because you experienced it, you know? And it's, again, kind of to your point, you get the end arc in the very first page. You get the whole story, and now it's like afterwards, holy shit, how am I going to deal with this? You know what I mean? And he gets to deal with it in an intricate way with Frank and with the whole aspect of the book. Which again, buy the book. It's fantastic. But
Buy the book.
it's
Buy the book.
it's so
Brendan?
intricately personal and it's so deeply explored.
You need to buy the book still.
I'm gonna say it again. Buy the book. Right?
It's just the wave passing
Yeah.
through.
Buy the book. Anyways, but like it's so deeply personal that it's. I mean, to both your points about perspective, both of you are right and neither of you are wrong.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because it's so deeply personal, and you two have such different experiences, right? Whether it's different times served, different places served, that kind of thing. That's kind of hard being on the outside of it, not being able to like add on to that sort of input. But
then that's your perspective too.
exactly. But again, that's my perspective. So it's also deeply personal, and it kind of reflects like the book from.
Whoa.
Whoa. The book will respond to me a different way than it will respond to you, and it will respond to you differently from the way it will respond to Brendan, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes the book so special, is because it's so uniquely suited to each person. Because it's tailored so well to the main character. It's also tailored to the way you kind of dawn on the main character, because it's in that first person perspective, and so you get your own experience. And again, kind of what you said, you read through it the second time, and you can kind of appreciate it for all the intricate details that you missed the first time. But through that first experience, it's you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100.
She just gave
Who lost?
L.
Dang.
No,
Dang, Carrie.
she did say microphone at one point when you didn't have the microphone up.
I knew it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Please put it up to your mouth, for the love of
had to, like,
God. It's stressing me out.
Yeah.
It's either L or lowercase L or capital I. Be involved.
Awesome.
Everyone say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi,
So-
Carrie.
One thing I used to hate the term, well, perspective's reality.
Yeah.
And because it's like, no, reality's reality. But if you really start to kind of look at it, like what you said, I think you kind of summed it up perfectly. It was like, well, I'm on the outside in. And that's I hate using this term because I am a civilian now. It's just like, oh, well, the civilians have a different outlook. But it's just like, no, bitch. Like, everyone has a different perspective, right? The worst thing you ever went through in life is probably way different than the worst thing I ever went through in life. That
100%.
could be like 20 times different on the spectrum of things, right?
Yeah.
But whose spectrums are we going off of now?
And
Are
that's
you-
what the book highlights. I
yeah,
think, so well.
exactly. Again, you took the words out of my mouth, man. It's like the book highlights that.
Yeah, and I again to the point, like the MC doesn't have a name. It's so you can place yourself in that position. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And to talk about like you have like these self crises through working through it. You read through it, you have your own self crisis because it's like, oh shit, I can find even if I haven't had experience in the military, I can find myself in certain aspects of this character, you know what I mean? And I can kind of express myself through reading this book, and I don't have to put any thought into it because I'm reading the words that have already been put out in front of me. You know, it's like as you experience the book, you really kind of get this own sense of self, because no matter where you're at, we all have experienced life. You know what I mean? We all have these very deeply personal moments that I wouldn't even share with Brendan. He's my best friend. You know what I mean?
What are you hiding?
One more time.
What are you hiding?
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing. But you know what I mean? Like we all have these very deeply intimate moments, and you kind of get to explore that through MC. And I think again, not to say you're a genius, but just keeping him MC, no name. You know what I mean?
Fuck him off, man.
You know, I might as well at this point, but it's like
Sorry,
not
miscarriage.
again.
Sorry, I'm scary.
Like I said, it's something I brought up to my girlfriend. It's something I brought up to anybody who I've talked about this book with. It's something I brought up to Brendan. Like the absence of a name allows you to place yourself so deeply into that like part. You know what I mean? Regardless of your experience, regardless of whether I haven't had any service or you've had service or Brendan's had service, and the difference between the two, service, right? Whatever, right? Like it's just again, just to come back to like the like tailoring analogy, it's so tailored to each person.
And I think that's a really cool aspect about fiction that I've always really liked, right? From either Lovecraftian, Lord of the Rings, and everything, right? And again, Lord of the Rings has like named characters. Lovecraftian, kind of like not really. Excuse me, but thank you. But we you put yourself in those shoes, like me and a person who I will not name. Here we're talking about actually a book, a family member of mine, and this family member of mine is someone I like. His experiences I can't even compete with at the end of the day. Like totally insane guy. But me and him were talking about it and talking about the different struggles and different perspectives, and that like opened up my eyes a lot in a way where I was just like, well, maybe perspective is reality. Man, fuck my ex. It's like she was right. No, it was more like no, I guess perspective isn't reality. And again, you sum it up beautifully in the sense, and you do too, Brendan. Where it what? Oh no, I was talking about, yeah, I know. I was talking about Brendan.
Yeah.
Dang,
Man. Oof.
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 Yeah, come on.
Doesn't
man.
even remember names.
Invited this guy.
Yeah.
Someone fire.
Thanks, Crystal.
But no, but I think you sum it up beautifully in a way where it's just like, no matter the human nature of experience is so diverse, right? Where it via like it is a bad breakup, right? Like that could earth shatter you to the soul depending on the type of person you are, right? And for like someone else, it could be like, dude, get over it, right? Versus it's just like you have a friend blow up, or you shoot someone, etc., or you have like someone commit suicide, etc. Each type of experiences, right, it is a form of a traumatic event, and I think the MC does a really good job at being unnamed. Where it's like, okay, even if you like, again, not to fluff you up, Maxwell, or you, Keegan, but it's yeah, I think you sum it up beautifully too. And you sum it up in your book beautifully as well too. So
this book is beautiful. Buy
use the microphone.
All right, you got something, Bren?
I did. They're off topic. Was yours on topic? Do you want to do yours first?
I think it was.
Mine's a little different.
Okay.
Is it
Off done, by the way.
No, it's exactly on track.
Okay.
Just again to talk about like experiences, and you kind of talked about it where like if you're in the military, you've had the service, right? You've had PTSD, you come back, and your experiences, like someone will be like upset about a coffee, and you're like, fuck is your problem? You know what I mean? I dealt with this, and this while I was in the military, right? Me and Brendan have had this conversation before, and I'm sure he can attest to it, where it's like, I knew this person had a very deeply personal experience, and it was very intense. And when she got out of it, she had gone to a job, and people complained about the most mundane crap. And then she ended up coming back around to that. I don't know how to say it without saying it, but she ended up coming back around to what was the problem initially, because everything else was so mundane and boring and just stupid. And when other people had problems with little stuff, she was like, I went through this. What the fuck is your problem? You know what I mean? And so it's almost seen in this book when you experience like the city, Like even in the parts of him like
Mm-hmm.
not looking at his own mural. You know what I mean? Where it's like I've had all these experiences and I can look at this mural and it means fucking nothing to me. It means something to you. But I'm going through so much shit myself
Yeah.
that I would rather go back and go through what the book is about than do my morning run and kind of go through that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? or
No,
not?
100%. Because like being 30 years old back in school and having to take gen bio with 18-year-olds.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and it's just like you have some person comes up to you and like talk about their day. You're like, I want to strangle you right now. I'm gonna grab you by your eyes.
Yeah.
Like what the hell's wrong with you? But I think this. I do think it's an experience like especially kind of vets go through, and not to make this a vet bro thing, because I hate that. I really do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you have to deal with your own fucking problems.
Yeah.
Right. And like, no matter who you are, no matter if we're in the service, you weren't in the service, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. As a person, you have to individually deal with your own shit and be able to work through that. Right. Either through therapy, right? Through SSRIs. Don't do that, please.
Don't do it.
Don't do that.
Prozac.
Please. No. But oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
But I think everyone has to
Whoa.
deal with their own problems, right?
Yeah.
And it, like, for example, you looking at the mural, right?
Mhm.
It means nothing to you versus like someone else looking at the mural. It means something completely
Exactly.
different. Like
Yeah.
when I, oh, sorry, I'm
No,
pretty much done.
I'm just gonna say, I think we've probably reiterated this point about 5 times. Can
I think we
like
need to fire
yeah,
him.
not to cut you off, but
He's telling you to die.
I think
He's telling you
yeah,
to die.
you get 2 sentences to close it out.
2 sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
book
point's
is
in being
great.
to death.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Buy the
first
book.
sentence is the book
Buy
is
the book.
great. The second sentence is
Buy
buy
the
it.
book.
All right, nice. You got it.
It's me.
It's you.
I don't know what to do with this power.
You could just walk around. Like you don't have to.
No one can see this. You see the side of his face.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta pass.
Pass him down.
Pass
My boy
the-
Brennan's looking dry over there.
Yeah.
Just open.
You're telling me this podcast to be 8 hours long.
I know, dude. Right.
Okay.
All right.
2 things.
Yeah, that's
All right. Cool.
2
her.
things.
Gina. Bye, Gina.
Thanks, Gina.
I have 2
All right.
2 things.
2 things.
First, I want to say I think that's so beautiful and amazing that your mom is your biggest supporter. I
Yep.
think that rocks.
Let's go, mom.
She
Shut up, mom.
Yep.
I know Carrie personally. You know, spent many years around her, and she's amazing. She rocks. I came over to her house like every day after school for like 4 years.
Yep.
So, and then the second thing is, do you ever plan on naming your main character? At
Fuck
at
no.
The end of the series.
Nope.
I know you plan like 21 books.
Yeah. So in total, the series is 3 trilogies as the main through line, and then it's about 12 novellas, and then there's constant short stories that'll be coming out through the Patreon. Patreon. But
Support the Patreon.
yeah, support the
Buy the
Patreon.
book.
But he will get a title, and it will be clear why, but he won't get it until the next trilogy. That should be the least spoilery answer I can, because book 2's not even out yet.
Well, you
So
tell
I
me I
can't
have to
even
read another book.
Yeah, dude. I'm
You're telling me we get peak twice?
all I'm saying is currently there's 4 books that are like
4.
books out of the written.
How close is the second one?
Second one's already in draft 2. So that one.
Congratulations,
yeah,
congratulations.
published, yeah. Book 3 is long as fuck. Is double the size of this. It is oh so good and so much fun, and it explores a lot more topics and really pushes the letter. And then I'm going to take a little bit of a hiatus to release some of the novellas, and then I'm about maybe 10% through book 4.
I got like one question. Where could we find these books at?
Wow,
Where-
what a great question!
What a great question. Hey,
Wonderful
where,
www.otzi.
It's on your shirt.
This it's we just changed the domain now, so it's should be otziforge.com. You can also find it on otzyaviation.com under books, publishing.
And there's a lot more coming out on Otzi.com.
Yes,
you can also buy the merch, which
yes,
is
we
Buy
are
the merch.
we are
and fantastic.
drowning in merch right now.
for the hat on camera.
Yep.
Do you have any with you?
No.
I'm upset.
Yep.
Full of fucking
So to that point, I think that it was a tough decision to even give him a title, but beyond the initial trilogy, he has to have something for somebody to refer to him as eventually. It was actually a lot of fun circumnavigating the name. There's like one scene where somebody's about to say it and then it cuts off. Like he has a name. I don't know what it is. I didn't fucking make one up, and I'm not gonna make one up.
Well, it's kind of like what we talked about last night, Blondie, the man with no name.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's
I'm gonna call him John.
I'm gonna call him Charlton.
bad name. There's actually already
I'll call him
another
Gary.
John in the book.
I'll call him
Did you really
Jeff.
ever
Gary.
give it any-
No, he has in my
In your head, there's never been a name that's
Yeah.
not-
no in my head canon. He had no name from the rip.
I'm gonna call him Garbach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So each time when you think about it, Mark one time, John the next, Steve the next, or is he just guy number one?
There's no name.
MC.
It's not even guy number one. It's just
Just no name?
Are his initials
Yep.
J.E.?
I'm
no.
serious, I could not give him any type of identity.
I'm sad
Yeah.
you don't have a microphone over there.
Especially 'cause he's the
Thank
main
God.
character.
Yeah,
How
no
are
name.
you able to-
How am I able to delineate and differentiate? I put
Yeah,
I put MC on my notes.
really?
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't refer to him as anything. Somebody calls him Major once.
So, like,
'Cause that's his rank.
literally Never any type of writing.
Yeah,
You've
literally never. Not
stuck a
even
name.
in every note section and every jot
I'm not
down.
talking notes, actually, I'm talking in your brain.
Yeah, never. Truly never. I can't even give him a name.
So he's like a dream guy.
Yeah, he's my Fabio, but not my Fabio.
Dream guy.
You know?
I have to
So,
say
like, you
too.
know how in dreams where if you don't know somebody, you don't give them a face.
Yeah,
He's that guy. to
yeah,
you?
exactly. He has a beard.
Is it weird?
Yeah,
Ha.
I saw you raise your hand first.
In terms of editing,
Uh-huh.
right? What was the most difficult part of editing the book?
I hate timelines. I despise chronology. I had to actually open up each of the chapters and then write out the timeline so that way during the rekill I could adjust and coordinate the dates and times. That was so tedious. Holy fuck. I spent weeks making timelines because I was like, crap. I said like it was 2 p.m. at this point, but there's no way it could have been 2 p.m. So now I have to rewrite this entire section. So there's no way it says a time. Like, yeah, there was one where it was like, the only line I left, I want to say, is they're in the Club LaFleur in Fayetteville, and he's talking about how everybody's partying.
Fayetteville.
What?
Fayetteville.
I know, yeah. But they're partying, and he looks around and he goes, "It's 2 p.m. on a Thursday," and like that was for the comedic effect. And I think that's the only time I ever confirmed exactly.
Yeah,
what day that-
Sharkies are victorious in Fayetteville.
Sharkies.
Sharkies.
That was definitely the hardest part of editing. Apart from that was syntax and grammar. So I had a wonderful team of beta readers who are really good at critiquing stuff. And then I had an actual editor. Her name is Mallory. She's the best. And I went through, and if you don't already know this or hadn't noticed it, the main character does not use contractions. He also does not typically use conjunctions either.
It's a contraction. A conjunction.
Can't, won't, don't. So he says like cannot, will not. And it's intentional because his speech is supposed to be a little jarring. His internal thought is a little jarring. And you seen Star Trek? Were you the one who nodded? No. You
Logan has seen.
all right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
big ass nerd.
Yeah, you know how Data speaks, and he's like, you're like, that's a robot, right? I kind of wanted to channel that of like very robotic, very disconnected. So you just take the most practical aspects of the most autistic man, and you're like, this is it. This is how he talks.
I feel like it also comes off more commanding.
100%.
I could see that. One of my beta readers, Greg, he pointed out, he's like, the word to describe him is practical. He's like, every decision is made. He is a practical person. And Greg is the kind where we sat for hours debating on the physics of if a car blows up, would it flip over on top of the car behind it, or would it go off to the sides? How would it affect? Like, we sat down and debated the incredible nitty gritties. Very Greg move.
Depends on the angle.
It really does. You can thank a lot of the science being actually fairly accurate for our conversations. Book 2 is very science heavy.
You know what I've noticed too is like as you go through the book and you see all the different kills, like he is very like you said robotic, but when he's kind of trying to connect with like someone, especially like there's 2 instances I've run into so far. One with Rebecca and one with who was the first woman that showed up? Charlotte, yeah. Where it makes the book makes a point to say that he is like his eyes softened. He's trying to soften his speech. And you can kind of tell he pulls off of that robotic portion. And it's kind of cool to see, like you talk about how you have all these years of training, like that kind of kicks in, you know what I mean? Especially when he's in these different kind of states, I guess you could call it. But how different it ends up looking like when he really is trying to kind of calm a person down, even when the end portion is still to kind of have his own benefit, you know? And it's something that I've kind of followed along with, and I think it's really cool.
And once you guys get to part 2, their kill number 2 really dives into dialogue.
Kill number 2 is so cool. Sorry.
Dude, that's rad.
Part 2, kill 2, which is kill 6.
Kill 6. Okay, I was just talking about kill 2 in general.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene on top of the roof into the elevator, I don't think will be topped for me. Period. That scene.
I can't wait for you to get to part 2.
That scene was so intense, and that scene was so kind of like, just it held my attention so well. Again, not to blow air up your ass, but that the scene on the elevator, I don't think will be topped by anything. Period. That scene was so, like, I can't imagine. Wow.
Sorry, I was imitating her.
Yeah. Yeah. All I'm saying is my mom's watching right now.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. She's gonna bring that up later.
No, but for sure, like the scene in the elevator again, like how it's broken up between the dings, the like kind of spiral of it is just, it's so cool. I mean, I could talk about that for hours. You know what I mean? So
let's not talk about it for hours.
Let's not. I'm fired.
You're fired. No, I appreciate it. That one, yeah, we kind of touched on a little bit, but
what's the mindset you were in when you're writing that scene?
I was stressed. There are a lot of scenes where it's stressful. I was probably stressed out at that point.
Why were you stressed?
Dude, no clue whatsoever. Life tends to be pretty stressful. That's all I'm saying.
You were stressed?
No, she was meant to die from the get. Rebecca is by far one of my favorite characters to have written because she is the exact opposite of what the archetype and trope is supposed to be. Because the trope is supposed to be the early love interest, and it goes on, and then they have the heartbreak, they get back together. And no, I don't do any of that. No, I take it and I go, this is the trope. This is the person you can expect. Look, you recognize this, you know this, and then I kill her. And I really like that.
It was very devastating as a reader.
Good. So happy about that.
I read that 5 minutes before I closed my book and went to bed.
Wow. That just sat on your mind?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
The thing is, dude, like the way the scene plays out, the way the scene plays out is so like matter of factly. I love it. Like it's just like it just is. You know what I mean? There's no drawing on it. There's no crazy scene that's like 2 pages long. Like it just is. Like there was before and there's after, and then there's the response to that. You know, I love this book.
The balance was almost like uncanny because you talk about how he doesn't want, but he goes into detail about how much he doesn't want and why he doesn't want.
Yeah.
So you're like, this is gonna happen. And then you go into detail about how much it ends and why it won't happen. Like there's that counterbalance in a really gross but beautiful aspect. So
Well, I'm glad that one resonated because I did not expect that one to resonate.
job.
I had one person say that
It was a gut punch.
Yeah.
Was, like I wanted him to have that humanity to hang on to, and for it to just so violently and graphically end. Good job.
Reading that stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's exactly what I meant
Yep.
to.
Kiki Wiki.
Yes, Brandy Money.
I know you have like 10 questions prepared. I don't want to take up too much.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, organic
yeah.
questions and everything is too easy for me. These are more so. These are less of a question for me to engage and more of a group kind of effort. You don't really have to have read the book, but I will contextualize what the question is coming from. So I set out pretty clear to promote thinking, and I think that you guys have thought a lot about this. So I know, right? It's pretty weird. So, for those who aren't super aware of the story, the East Coast at this point has fallen to like mob and gang rule. So it juxtaposes because the West is very utopic, and the government moved out there, power vacuum in the East Coast post-war. So you get like a lot of crime noir kind of gang style as he travels out east to do these contract kills. Thing is, in a situation like that, the only people who have the law and the rule are the small outposts of the military that hold martial law. Beyond that, there is, technically speaking, no society there anymore, but it is still part of the US. So because he operates outside of traditional law in that area, but he uses his own moral code, do you think a self-imposed moral framework is more or less legitimate than the one society can give you? And where does that line kind of break down? We're gonna hit everybody. Everybody gets to answer. So yeah, Logan.
Okay, yeah, I'll start. I think self-imposed is much more legitimate than what society enforces.
Interesting.
I really think any societal enforced kind of any structure, really, especially moral ones, tend to be flawed or too broad to be useful. So I think it's kind of, to be a person, you need to make some choices and decide what you like and what you think is good and what isn't. And letting society pick that for you isn't, you're not really a person at that point to me. Like you're not thinking through yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my view on it.
Okay. I know Brendan's going to have the most hot take of this. So he's going last.
Yeah.
Send it over this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I agree with Logan 100% on this. So I think self-imposed morality is way better than any type of societal morality, because if we look at even modern Western tropes, right, societal morality will always change. Your self-morality can change, sure, depending on like events, perspective, like everything we've kind of talked about at this point. But who you are at the core will define the rest of your life, right? And not to bring up the Catholic Church, but at the same time, right? I do think how you live morally in your religion or anything else, right? And personally, me as like a Melchi Catholic, that is a self-imposed / church ideology, morality, than anything society can impose. Like even if society comes down, it's like you're 100% wrong. It's like, no, I know I'm not wrong.
Are you saying that the church is not in itself a society?
Yeah, in a way, yes.
In a society.
I don't think it's a society.
At least not in the U.S.
Yeah, not in the
here.
U.S.
Okay, I can.
Especially not.
That's what I was going to get at, was that. But okay, I could see that. Esteban, what are you thinking?
I think in the West, in terms of self-imposed society, I do have to agree with Logan here. I think that our internal compass can probably be the best factor and our best driving factor of achieving a good standard, probably on the side of others, because, shame works. And I think shame, when a foundation breaks down, is probably going to be the thing that holds people together tighter than glue, than a law or a church-given law. I think shame in this context would probably make me be the best I can be. And I think that will drive my moral compass to more truer norths than if I had a martial law telling me what to do or a church-given law telling me what to do. So I think shame works.
Okay. Maxwell.
We're just gonna skip right.
Yeah, no,
Well, he's
we're-
going
we're-
last.
We're
He's
going
going last.
He's
This
going
guy's gonna say
last.
some
He's
crazy
going
ass
last because
shit.
he's going to take about an hour to get through his thought process, and
That is
everyone's
true.
going to disagree with
I
it.
usually have it. Most people disagree.
Yeah.
So I mean, I agree that like I think that like as a society we've kind of lost like the idea of shame. I think shame should be more prominent in our society, right? I think there's a lot of things we're very proud of that we shouldn't be proud of, right? Outside of whatever the conversation is. But I kind of disagree to your point, because if you have a lot of people who are shameful, you're going to have one person who's going to be able to take advantage of that shame, right? And you're going to have one person who's going to come into a position of power, right? And then it's the whole cycle restarts, right? So whether kind of like a moral law or martial law is more important for me is kind of skewed, because a martial law is destined to take place because there's going to be someone who's going to rise to the top of martial law, right? If you have your own kind of personal moral compass, and you do kind of, like you said, rely on shame for that moral compass, there's going to be someone who's going to be able to convince you and talk you into kind of a, I don't know if I'm explaining this to the way I want to, right? But I find that more often than not, a martial law that is uncorrupt, which is hard to find, is going to be more important than kind of a moral law, because with morals can be bent, and morals can be kind of convinced into a different shape, right? You can have the same moral law, but that moral law can be manipulated. So I find that a more martial law kind of standpoint. Does that make sense?
I dig it.
Yeah,
No.
I get it. I also actually really like the idea behind it. I think shame can kind of undermine self-confidence in your own moral law. Like whatever you decide to be true or good, what you think is good, if you feel shame about what you think is good, it'll undermine what you believe and allow someone else to kind of choose what you think. And that, for me, I haven't thought about it that way, but I actually really like that.
I really want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I disagree with you 100% on
100%.
this, because I do think shame in the societal aspect keeps society sane, right? Okay. We all feel shame to some level, right? The only people that do not feel shame are sociopaths and psychopaths, according to the DSM, antisocial personality disorder. So shame is what governs our guilt, right? Now, I do agree in the sense where it's like shame, if you have too much shame and you harp on that, right? 100% that's a bad thing. But shame overall, I think, is 100% keeps society in check. And I do think you need shame. And did I kind of like cover what you're kind of saying?
For me, I'm not arguing that shame is a bad thing.
Okay, that's my
I truly think that, like, I think shame is like almost like an art form, and it needs to return. I think more people.
Okay, that's my bad, man.
Yeah, more people need to be shameful, and I'm not shitting on shame. I think that shame should be more predominant, right? I think that we should be shameful about things. We should think about things and the way that we present ourselves and the way that we go about our lives, not like in a shameful manner, but like what will bring you shame, right? And I think more so that, to my opinion, is easily manipulatable when you have, like, I guess in recent times, like, you have an entire generation online, right? And there's a lot of shame, right? But just period, right? Whether it's with adult content, whether it's with kind of what you enjoy that's maybe strange to other people, there's so much shame that I find it very easily manipulable, right? And you only need one. Like, I mean, we've been joking about it all day long, right? Andrew Tate is the stupidest guy I've ever met.
My man, yes.
Period. No, but the swing that was able to bring with him wasn't out of nowhere. It came from a community of people who were overly shameful, right? Especially in a period like we talk about the book, right? In this area, you have a lot of people that are very shameful about things, right? And you have artists that are very profound, and they have this kind of predominant reach in their community. And I mean, in a way that almost gets to take advantage of shame, right? Because you get to strengthen people through their shame, and they get to move forward as a society. But in that same breath, you can do the exact opposite. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, that's kind of the area that I'm coming from. Not necessarily that shame is a bad thing. I think shame as a society should be prevalent, but I just think it's how that shame is handled.
Well, I feel stupid, and I'm sorry.
You're so smart. You're so smart. You're not stupid. Now, everyone, the bombshell.
He needs a beer for this one.
Yeah,
freshie.
Gina, I would like a beer for this one as well.
Thank you, Gina. We appreciate you.
Thank you for the contributions to both you guys. Thank you.
All right.
Gina, thank you.
To this point, if you do disagree, right, let's try to keep it concise and keep it flowing.
Don't hurt me too much. Be gentle. Okay, so I'm gonna philosophy minor here. Not like a child, but like in college. Anyway,
philosophy channel.
No.
So
thanks.
I want to begin the original question, which was, if I'm wrong,
self-imposed moral framework more or less legit than the one society gives you.
So there's two terms in there that I think are really important to cover in order to get this argument like for sure, right? So the first one is morality. And briefly just think about that for a second. Like, what does morality mean? And I want to hear everybody answer. Please short though.
Morality is your moral compass. Well, it's your internal compass that guides you through life, where you either feel shame, guilt, and how you treat other people. The golden rule, essentially.
I think it's how you react to strong events.
I think it's more how you decide if something is good or bad. It's really determining if you agree or disagree.
I think for me, morality is like what's been instilled in you and kind of what you hold true to yourself, outside of kind of outside forces, what makes sense to you and what feels right and what doesn't feel right, and kind of your own, again, not moral compass is kind of a bad way of putting it, but just what feels correct for you and right for you.
I would say it's a set of code or rules that dictate wrong and right. At its like base level is just a set of something to determine wrong and right.
Okay, so I agree with Keegan's definition. I think it's the most robust there. Logan was really close, but morality is mostly about good and evil, wrong and right. Right? What's right and what's wrong. Religion can define that. Other things can define that. But it's more about good and bad, right? So that's the first term, and then the second term I think we should cover is the legit, right? Legitimacy. What does that mean to you?
Truth.
I again say it's how you respond to strong actions. I mean, that's when your morality gets tested. So it's a response to strong things happening.
Real quick, when you talk about legitimacy, are you talking about like the definition of legitimacy, or about the morality definition of legitimacy?
The definition of legitimacy. So right now we're just defining terms, so we can iron out what this statement is, so we can find the actual root truth to the statement.
Okay.
Yeah. So just what do you think legitimacy is?
Factual truth.
I think legitimacy is, like trueness or accuracy in a way. It's like what is most correct to reality. So what matches reality the most?
For me, legitimacy is like what factually is correct outside of opinion. What factually happened or what factually is legitimate.
Proven trustworthiness.
Okay. So I think legitimacy is more, I don't know, fluid than what we typically give to it, right? So legitimacy doesn't necessarily have to mean truth, right? It can mean you can argue a point enough that it becomes legitimate, even if you're wrong. You can make an heir to the throne. It's a bastard child, and he can be a legit king, right? You can make legitimacy out of something that's not true, right? It doesn't have to be the case, right? So the question here is a self-imposed morality or a societal morality more legit, right? That's the question. Which one has more legitimacy to it? And I think, again, back to that point, you can argue something to be more legit than, even if it's wrong. I think the societal morality there is by far more legit, right? Because there's more people backing it. There's more people behind it that say this is good, this is bad. That's going to outweigh the voice of one who says, well, I actually think this is good. And so according to that statement, right, it may not be my value, but to the statement, I think societal morality is by far more legit.
I would disagree. I think putting the terms together, legitimate morality, to me means for legitimate morality, it's you can think something is true or good and something is bad. But in the moment, if you're in a situation and something bad happens and you think it's bad, but you don't really like act upon it, to me that means it's bad and it's bad. You think it's bad, but you're willing to accept and deal with it and not really push it. And so I think an individual morality is going to be more legitimate because only individuals are going to react to a situation. A society might have a response, but its response is always mixed. Every controversial event that happens in America, there's always mixed responses of someone who believes one thing and another person who believes another, and that the legitimacy of your like how you respond boils down to individual. That's where I believe.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think that murder is bad?
I think it takes away someone's right to exist and their ability to function on their own and independently.
And that's your independent thought, and you don't think that has come from any societal?
No, it's come from society, but that I agree with it, and I've decided I agree with it, and that's where my individual morality agrees with societal, but that doesn't mean that other things society agrees with, I agree with.
Do you have
murder is one case where I agree with it.
Do you have an example of
Piracy
of something you think is okay?
I think you can steal from corporations. I don't care.
I do not care.
You didn't even get it all.
Yeah.
Is anybody at this table disagree with that? Does anybody here think that it's okay or not okay to steal from a corporation?
I don't think it's okay to steal from a corporation.
I don't think it is either.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Give to Caesar what is Caesar's.
Okay, so that is a unique take you have.
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Why do I think that? I think this specifically pertains to just online media. Specifically, if I'm buying something and I don't own it, then piracy isn't stealing. If I can buy a digital copy of something and then they take it away from me because they don't want me to have it anymore, I never owned it in the first place. So pirating isn't stealing because I'm not owning it, I'm borrowing it. That's my view.
Now that he's made that point, do you think it's okay to steal from a corporation?
I would say that piracy, in terms of like digital, is okay because the system is built in a way that very few, if any, amount of that money goes to who actually created it. But I pretty much only can think of digital piracy as being the okay.
Yeah.
Tangible is where I draw the line.
Okay.
Also, just to be clear, none of us condone this. This is all
This
theoretical.
is all hypothetical.
None of us condone
in
this.
RuneScape.
I
Okay,
was
so-
literally thinking of boats.
So
I
now
condone
All right. Yeah.
regardless of boats or not.
Yeah.
But so that was my point right there. So
Mm.
you clarified your stance on it, and then he just agreed with it, right? That is a societal agreement. There are multiple people here. You just agreed upon, right? That just became societal morality, no longer your own individual morality. And Keegan agreed with you.
It had to come from somewhere, and it came
Right.
from my original idea,
Yeah.
which
But did it, or
differs
did you
from
get
the
that
original
from,
societal idea.
But did
Now
you
we're
get that from
arguing
another
logic
idea?
versus hypothetical.
Now we're arguing
Yes.
philosophy.
But
which
did
is
you
that
get that?
interchangeable
Did you get that?
words.
Did you get that from another idea though? Right?
Cheers to
So
that.
you didn't grow all that idea all yourself, right? You
Oh
came,
God, no.
You came across other people
Yeah.
that had that, and then you adopted that.
Yeah.
Whether it's a subgroup of a society, it doesn't have to be America's morality as a whole. It can be a subgroup society. This table, we could come up with our own morality, and that is a societal morality, right? Your individual morality is almost affected by nothing.
What is this
The only way you could have an individual morality is if you were out in the woods, born alone, grew up all on your own, and came up with everything as you went every day.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, the only legit morality, the only morality you're ever going to come across is that of a society that was put upon you. You're never going to come up with that idea on your own unless in a society. Even murder, you can only come up with murder is bad if you meet another person that you can murder.
So to that point, I agreed with you on everything until that specific point. All right. So there are always going to be unique situations that we encounter because of the evolution of technology and the human experience, right? Our morals, when it comes to dealing with if we found aliens, is going to be a completely brand new moral framework that is decided on in that moment. But it comes from the foundation of how we already treat other humans and life forms. So like the new idea and how we embrace the new idea is the new moral that one person could make in that moment. But the foundational one, the one that however many years ago, a bunch of dudes just got together and agreed upon, that is the society which oftentimes supersedes the individual. So I agree with you on that. There are going to be in the future random moments where your morals, like piracy, are going to change, but it's not going to be such a radical change. It's going to evolve, lump back into society, and society then rules over again.
But it's still a societal change, right? So regardless if you're involved or
Mhm.
not, right? Those you said alien life.
Mhm.
Alien life is a society. You just met a different society, okay? And then people that you're around, you're going to talk about it, you're going to develop those thoughts. And before that morality becomes important and pertinent to your situation, you're going to come to a societal norm and a societal like morality upon that issue before you even have a chance to make an individual reaction to it. If
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Before conning you. I'll just make the point. I do actually agree with you on the original point.
So here's the wonderful thing about life, right? Both of you are right. Right?
Well, we're both right because we have the same point. You're wrong.
Perspective, right? But
By the book.
by like societal definition, right? Society can be wrong, and that's where you're wrong, in a way.
I disagree.
Okay,
We'll come back.
we'll talk about that offline, right? To keep it short for Keegan.
Yeah.
Point, right? But even from a moral standpoint too, right? Who can say someone's morals is flawed or not, right?
Mhm.
So like you're also wrong in that aspect too. But in a sense, you all guys are both right because society, even in sociological terms, right? You're part of a tribe. You need to conform to part of that tribe to be able to like produce viable offspring, etc. Right? But then there's also two sides to it, and this is my major problem with society, philosophy. Not the shit on your mind or anything, right? But there's always two sides. There's the black and white side of the thing, right? And most people don't think in black and white terms, and that's the problem with that. But then there's also, I think, the spiritual side of things, and not to go down on the spiritual. that is a whole rabbit hole in itself, right there. Kill that goofy ass. But I do think there's a black and white logistical philosophical side, but philosophical side of life, and then there's the spiritual side of life too, and both of those are very different. And then you have the physical side of things, right? And this is a whole theological debate that has been going on for 2,000 years, which I will not get into at this point, but I both agree and disagree with y'all guys on different levels on that.
So this just in. I'm so sorry. I'm getting bombarded with this. Yeah, thanks to Gina and Ashley pointing this
Shout
out.
out, Gina.
And
Thanks,
Ashley.
Crystal. But we are actually now officially on Barnes and Noble.
Oh!
So,
Go!
Opa! There we go. Nice.
Keegan's officially on Barnes and Nobles. We are not.
Hey, Google you to find out where to find you. Not your website pops up, but to find you on.
It's not my website.
Yeah. But yes, I will link that in the description below. Because yeah, we are on Goodreads now. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell
Dude,
yeah.
like legit. It's yeah. I just pulled it up. Yeah.
I did request that you be put on Fable as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I didn't know if anybody did that yet, so I put you on.
Good.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Dude, I appreciate it.
That's insane.
Because yeah, I'm still actively fighting Goodreads to claim that I'm the author. Because they went, no, you aren't. I was like, I am. And so I link my website and do all that stuff. And they're like, we don't believe you. So I had to call Goodreads tech support and get them to do it and tell me
You
what's wrong.
big fat liar.
I know, dude. They're like,
I don't.
This
you-
guy.
Wait,
Bro didn't write that.
Yeah.
Are you an
He did not
Couldn't
write that
be
book.
you. Yeah. Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. But
Who's Jim?
That show again.
hey, that's the only reference I'll do. Besides,
I think we beat this to the bush. Let's do number 2.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get more drunk offline and do it.
Yes.
All right.
I do want to play that game later.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
It's a fun group
One-
later.
100%. Yeah, dude, it is. It is.
All right, let's see. Ooh, okay, I like this one. So,
Is God dead?
hey, we can hear you. Hey, we can hear you. Hey, sorry, we can hear you.
Hey.
All right. So anyway, in the book, right, war does not end civilization. It just reshuffles the power. Is a society shift in power more terrifying than a collapse and rebuild? And what does that say about how durable systems of control actually are?
Funny enough, I just wrote a paper on this.
What? All right, you'll go last then. All right, yeah. Yeah, we'll start.
Start with Logan.
Yeah.
Oh. I think definitely a restructuring of power is probably scarier, mainly because the lack of control of an individual. When you have a collapse of society, the individual becomes the supreme being. I can do whatever I want now. I get to build a society how I think it should be. If America becomes not a superpower anymore, I don't get any choice in that. It just happens. You know, it just happens now. Yeah. But I think the lack of control of when you see like major powers shifting and restructuring can be much scarier to the individual, especially like you think with different societies, you're a smaller nation, you end up in a war now, and your country is kind of destroyed, and you didn't have any control over that war starting, but now it's started and you have to deal with the consequences of it. Versus, oh, society collapses, there aren't countries anymore, oh, you get to go farm, that's just kind of what you got to do now, or you die. That's the option. And I think that is less scary, at least to me, being able to have some control and semblance over how my life exists.
Okay.
So for me, that's like kind of a very loaded question, right? Because society collapses, right? You have a government collapse, and you have this. I mean, it's talked about so much in the book. You have a power vacuum, right? And that can be filled in an infinite number of ways, right? You can have one person come who is terrible for your society. You can have one person come who is phenomenal, right, and does amazing work for you, right? It's kind of explored a lot in the book, where you have one faction that's really pushing towards the betterment of everyone, right? The conjoining of all the gangs, right? And you have even underneath this leader, you have two people that want to proceed to thwart that, right? Have a coup, and that plays out during the book, right? But I think it is the collapse of a power like that is terrifying, right? And it kind of shows the durability of I guess like a leader like that, right? Or a central government like that, right? Where if there is a collapse, there's a power vacuum, and it's just the first person, gang, group to come into a position of power. Kind of attests to the durability of that, right? It takes one misstep to fall apart, right? It takes one person of power to fall out, right? It takes one coup to kill a vault full of people. You know what I mean? And then there's a power vacuum, everything falls apart. And you have this new power vacuum, right? Like it just for me personally, that the idea of that is so terrifying, because then it leads to kind of further chaos, you know, and it leads to further almost like de-evolution of people. You know what I mean? If you have the opportunity to seize power, you're going to, you know, and if you have the opportunity to take advantage humanitarily, you're going to, you know. And so for me, it does speak to the durability of that kind of system, where if the US fell today, Lord knows, you know what I mean? There's a million more ways that can go, and God willing, it's in the favor of us, you know, the civilian. But it really is terrifying.
I love how much you tried and you still just full frame,
Lifted.
full thing.
Like,
Yeah.
you just missed the light.
Yeah.
I don't care.
All right. Bendy.
Me?
It's you.
Yeah, it's my nickname to my family.
Yeah.
You would know that
Benjamin.
If you were
if you were family. All right. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm torn between this question, right? I think this is kind of pretty difficult. I think they both have terrifying aspects of both of them. But the issue I'm struggling with is defining them, is like figuring out what the actual difference between the two is. Because I was thinking, oh, the best idea I have of an example of a collapse is Russia, right? The Soviet Union, right? And then I went, well, that's also kind of a restructure of society, right? And then I was going back in time. I was like, okay, how about Rome, right? Rome collapsed. And I went, well, it was kind of also just a restructure of society. And then I just kept going back, and I'm struggling to find a difference. I feel like they could be defined the same and explored incredibly similar.
A real quick definition, right? You have revolutions and you have regime changes, right?
Okay.
So regime changes are more of a structural societal change, right? Versus a revolution. And I'll get to that in my part. But those are the two differences.
Okay.
In terms of that.
So you're saying a collapse is more a revolution?
No, I'm saying a revolution could be a collapse.
Okay.
Right. But a regime change could also be a collapse.
So what can you give me like a expectation, a bare bones minimum of the two, right? Like
Sure.
What do you need in order for it to be a restructure, and what do you need in order for it to be
so a total societal collapse is a cultural collapse at the core.
Okay.
right? So like look at China, for example. All right. I think China had a revolution and a cultural, a societal collapse at the same time. Right. You had old generational China, where they had the dynasties throughout the emperor, etc. Even Japan is a good example of this. Not to contrast the two, and that's a geopolitical thing at a totally different context. But China, you had the Revolutionary Guard, much like Russia came into play, right? But it was still part of the CCP, so it wasn't a revolution.
Like
CCP
an internal seizure of power.
It was an internal seizure of power that changed society as a whole, right? Because that's when you had I can't pronounce it, save my life, but the Tiananmen Square instance, right? That's where you had, it's like, hey, kill off the whole generation.
Are you a party member or are you not a party member?
Yeah, exactly. That's a societal collapse versus revolution. You can look at the 1917 Red October, right? That's a revolution, the French Revolution, right? A Rome collapse right there. That was also a societal cultural shift right there, where you had the Byzantine Empire split, and then you also had the East and West versus each other. And the
Okay,
Dark
so
Ages
you would say, just so I can have this clear, okay? Soviet Union collapse, okay, and then
Soviet Union revolution, right?
You would say that as a revolution, not as a collapse.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that's also a societal collapse versus my bad, I see what you're saying, but I would say that is a collapse. Yes.
Okay. And
a revolution is a collapse, but a regime change is also a collapse in its own sense.
I just want to find examples here so I have something to pin it to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Soviet Union collapse.
Yes.
Julius Caesar, would you say is the restructure?
That seems because they still called themselves Roman.
Okay,
that's
what that's kind of just what I
at some point you stop calling yourself Roman. That's a collapse. You're not Roman anymore.
Exactly, because if you look at Rome, for example, and you could say that to again, like when you get into the history of the things and like the sociology and everything else, there are.
I'm just looking for broad examples.
Broad example.
That's all I need.
Logan defined it.
I got it there.
Yeah,
cool. Okay, I'm gonna say then with that aspect, collapse I feel like would be far more terrifying. I think as a restructure to the ordinary civilian, there wouldn't be much of a difference until latent effects that really your children are going to see, right, over time, right? I would say it was an immediate effect. Collapse would be far more terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. All right, I'm not going to ask you specifically because me and you have had this conversation already. All right, so what is y'all guys' definition of a revolution?
A revolution, I think, it's kind of like a secondary society forming in a new one and enforcing its demands on the old society.
Okay.
I think I would agree with that. It's a group of individuals that have become almost like fed up, right? And have band together, and they are saying, this is what we want, you know, and this is what we're going to push for, and we're willing to do anything for it.
Yes. And since we don't have the other people here, so I'll just kind of like sum it up in broad terms.
Yeah.
I think a collapse in society is a revolution, right? And revolutions are the most terrifying thing a society can go through, because it's not only a regime change simultaneously, it's a total restructure of the cultural aspects of society. And the scary thing about a revolution, it's a revolution, right? So it's one in terms of like physics, right? A revolution, it goes full circle, right? So what happens is Russia is a great example. The French Revolution is a great example of this, where in both the French and Russian Revolution, it's like, oh, hey, the little guy takes control. It's like, yeah, let's go, right? It's a good thing. But then you get to like almost that 180 degrees, all right, where it's like, okay, this isn't good. French Revolution, you had the guillotine, beheadings, everything else. You had mass executions. The Russian Revolution was by far way worse, Stalinistic. And you have someone always, in every single revolution, you always have someone who is the power vacuum in that society that is going to totally shift that culture on scales that is unprecedented and will leave a mark in history. All right. Hitler is another. I mean, in all reality, the yeah, we're talking about Hitler, dude. But
It's hard not to bring him up.
yeah, no. So Hitler's another good example of this too, right? Because you did have from a Kaiser society to the Weimar Republic, everything else, and it was a revolution in a sense, right, with the National Socialistic Party.
Yep.
And then you had the Russian Red Revolution, Red October, etc., where you always have that power vacuum comes in. It's like, I'm going to cleanse everything I find wrong with society at this point in time. So I think the cultural shift and cultural collapse of a society, aka a revolution, is the most terrifying thing that any culture can go through. And I keep using that word culture a lot because it's a broad term. In the West, we can't really define culture because we are a mishmash of cultures, right? So think about it like this too. Like if America had a revolution where not in the terms of like 1776, that was more of a regime change right there, right? It's like we still kept Western Europe principles in place, right? Greek Republic, Roman Republic style like structures and everything else, and we modified them. But think of it in terms of, okay, hey, let's say a far radical right member gets in or left, and you can choose either one. And it's like anyone who disagrees with the party line at this point in time is going to be executed in whatever fashion. That is going to totally shift that culture of the nation and affect not just that society, but in geopolitical terms as well, affect the rest of the world. So that's why I think a collapse is way worse in a way. And that's why I associate collapse, culture, revolution all in one category.
I think collapse is much worse.
I mean, we agree.
Yeah. I obviously give my opinions in the book and kind of dive deeper into what my thought process is. So I won't go super in depth, but I'd be like, yeah, that shit bad either way. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in a country like that. Fuck no. Yeah, dude, a civil war happens.
What about a country like that, but I'm there?
I'm going to kill you first.
But man, we've had such a good discussion over these past two hours or so.
Has it really been 2
It's
hours?
been 2 hours. I looked at my watch and I went, oh, fuck. I saw the GoPro died. I was like, oh, yeah, we reached 2 hours. Yeah, the main camera's still on. I don't know how. But I want to go around. Any final closing statements, comments? Keep it concise.
I got one.
Buy the book.
Buy the book.
Oh, shoot.
That's you.
No, we're doing it.
Yeah. We skipped him to go to Logan, so now it's you, and then it'll be me.
And then it'll be him, and then it'll be me. And then
This is a fucked up order. But all in all, really proud of you, dude. Regardless, it's really cool to like you bring people together like I've never met anywhere else, dude. And aka why I'm your friend, but also really proud of you in the aspect of you actually took the time and dedication to like write the book, input your own philosophical like ideology, your own morals, your own principles, your own perspective on the book. And yeah, buy the fucking book, dude.
I think I will buy it. Go ahead.
I would also like to say I'm very happy to have met you recently. It's as of this year that me and Keegan have started a friendship, and to see your accomplishments and to see the way that your life is going to transition for the rest of the 2020s and onward. I'm happy that I get to know you from this point starting out. I would have hated to know you before. I can't. Yeah,
Dude, as someone that knew him before, he was great then too.
I'm totally sure.
Sure.
But I'm glad that I get to start off with knowing a very intimate part of you by reading your book and knowing a little bit more about my new friend. And I can't wait to know some more about you, bro.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
As the, I think, longest standing friend in this group.
Currently, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I want to say I've seen your growth from when you were in middle school to now, and I think that you've become an amazing human being. I think you're incredibly intelligent.
I think you have so many goals and mission and drive that you have. It's amazing. And I think you're going to go really far. I think you're going to go farther than you think you're going to go. Even from our conversations, the goals that you've told me are crazy high, right? I think you're going to go even farther than that, right? I'm proud of you. You're like a brother to me. Well, we're like uncles together or something.
Dude, what?
But I think you're going to do amazing things, and I love you. And I think you're going to do just fantastic things to this world, and it's not ready for it.
Dude, I'm gonna kiss you all on the lips so hard after this.
Hey, me first, dude.
Yeah. Man, well, my ass is full of air right now. My chest is puffed. I'll tell you that.
Pull something else.
Yeah. But
Can I,
yeah, go
can I
ahead,
say
go ahead.
before- I know I kind of breezed past the beating, but really this book has been so interesting to me, and I need to actually put input into it. I've never been a fan of reading. I am adamantly against reading. It's my weakest subject. And this book pulls me in constantly. It's the last thing I read at night, the first thing I read in the morning. This book is literally what I wake up to, which is crazy glaze, I know. But I just to say, like, if you're kind of against reading, if you don't quite understand it, this book is paced so well. There's so much breadth and depth to this book. It is, again, like I said earlier, so personally tailored to each individual. There's something you'll pull out of this book no matter what. And I truly think no matter how against reading you may be, read this book and see how you feel afterwards. And I promise you will not regret it. There's not one thing that I have found wrong with this book. It pulls me in every time. And each chapter, I mean, I finish it front to end, which is huge for me personally. So if you're against reading, just in general, kind of in my own position, this book is phenomenal. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. And it is a shame more people can't get to it. So
we'll get
now
there.
they can on Barnes and Noble.
They can. Barnes and
Barnes
Noble.
and Noble.
www.barnesandnoble or whatever the address is .com. I'll put a link in the description.
Also, shout out Keegan's mom again.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Sorry, Miss Greg.
Shout out
I love you,
Otzi
Keegan.
Forge.
Yeah. So thank you so much for my mom who stuck around for this whole thing.
Thank you, Mom.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, she's probably the only one actively watching, and then my dad's probably watching hockey. Yeah, could be.
I like your dad.
Yeah, he's chilling. He's probably like looking up occasionally, like, oh, they're still talking. All right. Yeah. Yeah. What are they? Yeah, he said Lord of the Rings again. Fuck. These nerds.
What kind of son did I raise?
Yep. But no, I am super appreciative of not only you guys being here, supporting and coming out, but also all the people involved who weren't able to make it. My mom did all the illustrations in the book. If you did not know that, yep. So all the hand-drawn ones, that's all her. Yep. So she has been phenomenal. She's going to keep doing the art for the rest of the books, which is going to be great.
Building. This is big.
Yep. She did that.
That's my favorite thing.
Dude, hell yeah.
Sticker.
Yeah, good. I was gonna make stickers of all of those. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the big images like the title ends and stuff, that was me. But the actual drawings, illustrations, the photos, both her and I took. She edited into the paintings, and so yeah, lots of fun little.
Want that?
This.
Yes.
I cannot believe I flipped to this page. I need this.
Good. But I will never be able to thank everybody involved enough, and it's just been such a joy and a pleasure to be able to write this and to be fucking done with it. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna fluff you all up later. I'll tell you that.
Not as good as I'll fluff you.
Whoa, fighting words. All right, but this is how
my man.
we will conclude it. Our lovely computer girl is currently not paying attention, so I'll have you. What a horrible. Yeah. If you'll click that outro. Bye. Bye. It's you gotta click the end recording. It's in the top right. It's a red button. It's
Nolan's
gonna-
in charge of the outro.
Come
Let's
on,
hope he
come
doesn't,
on, come on.
mess this
it'll
up
say
like,
that, and it'll say play the outro.
like everything else he touches.